The letter trembled in my hands, the royal seal of Eldora gleaming under the food truck's fluorescent lights. 8 years of friendship with Lorelei, and she still managed to surprise me. I'm Freya, and 5 years ago, I traded my corner office at Morrison and Bradley for a food truck called the Rolling Fork. My mother still can't say those words without wincing. Mommy, can I have another grilled cheese? Adrian's voice pulled me from my thoughts. My 8-year-old sat at our prep station, homework spread across the stainless steel counter. Sure, sweetie. Just finish your math first. I tucked the letter into my apron pocket as my phone buzzed. Yolanda's name flashed on the screen. Freya, where are you? Mom's been trying to reach you. My sister's surgical precision extended to her words, each syllable a careful incision. Working, Yolanda, like most people at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. In that truck of yours. She paused. Listen, Ava's Sweet 16 is this weekend. Mom wants you to handle the catering. I nearly dropped my spatula. You mean serve food outside while you all enjoy the party inside? Don't be dramatic. We're willing to pay your regular rate. My regular rate is $2,000 for events this size. I knew this would send her reeling. My sister, the neurosurgeon, couldn't fathom charging such prices for food truck food. That's ridiculous. You used to make that in 2 hours as a lawyer. And now I make it doing what I love. Take it or leave it. The silence stretched between us. Fine. Mom says to be there at 4 p.m. sharp on Saturday. Don't be late. After she hung up, I pulled out Lorelei's letter again. The invitation to cater the upcoming Royal Charity Gala in Eldora made my sister's condescension easier to swallow. Hey, boss lady. Skylar's voice rang out as she climbed into the truck. My part-time helper and fellow single mom always brought energy with her. Ready for the lunch rush? Actually, I need to talk to you about something. I showed her the letter. Her eyes widened. Holy shit, the Queen of Eldora? That's the friend you backpacked through Europe with? Before she was queen, yeah. We stayed close. And your family doesn't know? I smiled. They never asked. Too busy telling me what a mistake I made leaving law. The lunch rush hit then, and we fell into our familiar rhythm. Between serving our signature Korean fusion tacos and craft lemonades, I thought about my father's last attempt at career counseling. Honey, he'd said, you're wasting your potential. Your Harvard law degree is gathering dust while you flip burgers. If only they knew about the cookbook deal I'd just signed, or the food festival awards lined up on my apartment shelves, or that their failure daughter had the ear of European royalty. Adrian looked up from his homework. Mom, did you see this? I got an A on my science project. That's amazing, buddy. I high-fived him, remembering how my own academic achievements were always met with, of course you did. You're a Ford. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my mother. Freya, darling, about Saturday. Her voice dripped with artificial sweetness. We need you to prepare something. Elevated. None of those fusion experiments. Ava's friends are very particular. My menu is my menu, Mom. If you want cucumber sandwiches, call someone else. Really, Freya? When will you start taking life seriously? You're 35, divorced, living above a laundromat. And happy. I cut in. Don't forget happy. After hanging up, I pulled out Lorelei's letter one more time. The Royal Charity Gala would be supporting single mothers in business. Lorelei wanted me not just as a caterer, but as a speaker, to share my journey from corporate law to successful food truck owner. Mom? Adrian's voice was quiet. Are we going to Aunt Yolanda's house for Ava's party? We are. And we're going to hold our heads high because we have nothing to be ashamed of. Skylar started closing up the truck. You should tell them about the Queen. Watch their jaws drop. I shook my head. Not yet. Sometimes the best revenge is letting karma do its thing. As I wiped down the counters, I thought about my mother's words. Taking life seriously. As if following your passion, raising a kind child, and building a successful business wasn't serious enough. But soon they'd see. Not because I needed their approval anymore, but because sometimes life has a way of serving up the perfect dish of humble pie. I folded Lorelai's letter and tucked it away, smiling as I imagined the looks on their faces when they finally realized that the daughter they'd written off as a failure had been quietly building an empire, one food truck order at a time. The summer heat was brutal as I set up my food truck in the circular driveway of my sister's mansion. Ava's Sweet 16 looked more like a royal wedding, with white tents sprawling across the manicured lawn and crystal chandeliers hanging from their peaks. "Mom, these people are fancy," Adrian whispered, helping me arrange garnishes. "They're just people, sweetie. No better or worse than anyone else." My mother's clicking heels announced her arrival before I saw her. "Freya, darling, you're blocking the valet parking area. Could you move this vehicle around back?" I gestured to my fully set up station. "Sorry, Mom, we're already established here." "Fine." She surveyed my setup with pursed lips. "Just try to be discreet." As she walked away, Adrian tugged my sleeve. "Why does Grandma always talk to us like that?" Before I could answer, Skylar arrived for her shift. "Because some people mistake money for worth, kiddo. Now who's ready to show these folks what real food tastes like?" The party was in full swing when Ava approached my truck, trailing a group of teenagers dressed in designer clothes. "Aunt Freya," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Mom wants to know if you have any vegetarian options for Isabella. Her father owns that big tech company everyone's talking about." "I have 5 vegetarian options listed right there on the menu board, Ava." She glanced at the board, then back at her friends. "Oh, but these are all like street food." "Actually," I said, plating a mushroom bulgogi taco. "This recipe won the City Food Festival's gold medal last month. Want to try one?" Before Ava could respond, Yolanda appeared. "Ava, honey, the caterers inside have prepared some lovely quinoa salads. Why don't you take your friends there?" As they walked away, I heard one of the girls whisper, "Can't believe your aunt runs a food truck." "I know, so embarrassing," Ava replied, loud enough for me to hear. Adrian, who had been quietly reading in the corner, looked up with tears in his eyes. "Mom, hey," I said, kneeling beside him. "Remember what we talked about? Their opinions don't define us." The afternoon dragged on, with most guests avoiding my truck despite the enticing aromas. I kept thinking about Lorelai's letter, safely tucked away at home. In 3 weeks, I'd be catering for actual royalty, not just pretend princesses. My father approached as the sun began to set, loosening his tie. "Freya, your mother's looking for you. Apparently, the indoor caterer's dessert station is running behind." "I'm not the backup caterer, Dad. I have a contract for specific services." He sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. "Always so stubborn. You know, the partner position at Morrison and Bradley is still open. Richard asks about you." "I'm sure he does, but I'm not interested." "You could give Adrian a better life." That stung. Adrian has a great life. He has a mother who's present, who follows her dreams, who teaches him that success isn't measured by other people's expectations. "Freya." My mother's voice cut through our conversation. She was speed-walking toward us, phone in hand. "The chocolate fountain is malfunctioning. You must have something sweet in that truck of yours." I pointed to my menu. Korean honey hot talk, $8 each. Minimum order of 10. $8 for street food? That's highway robbery. "That's business, Mom. Something you taught me, remember?" She threw her hands up. "I taught you to aim higher than this. Look at your sister, chief of neurosurgery at 37. And you're here, playing food truck fantasy while your son does homework in a parking lot." I felt Adrian press against my side, and something in me snapped. I pulled out my phone and pulled up the email from my publisher. "See this? It's a contract for my cookbook. 6 figures. My food truck grossed $500,000 last year. Adrian's college fund is already fully funded." I took a breath. "But you never asked about any of that, did you?" My mother's face flushed. I had no idea." "No, you didn't, because you were too busy being embarrassed by me to notice I was succeeding on my own terms." Just then, a commotion broke out near the tent. The chocolate fountain had apparently exploded, covering several guests in chocolate. As my mother rushed off to damage control, I heard Skylar chuckle. Karma's got perfect timing, doesn't it? I watched the chaos unfold, thinking about the royal gala invitation. Soon, these same people who looked down their noses at my food truck would be scrambling for my attention. But standing there, with Adrian's hand in mine and Skylar's supportive presence beside me, I realized something important. I didn't need their validation anymore. I had already won, not because of any royal connections or business success, but because I had stayed true to myself. Pack it up, I told Skylar. We're done here. As we drove away, Adrian asked, "Are we still going to tell them about the Queen?" I smiled, thinking of Lorelai's letter. "Oh yes, honey, but timing is everything in both cooking and karma." The palace of Eldora loomed before me, its limestone walls glowing in the morning sun. 8 years ago, Lorelai and I had been two college students sharing a cramped hostel room in Prague. Now she was greeting me at her palace gates. "Freya." Lorelai rushed forward, ignoring her security detail's concerned looks. She wrapped me in a tight hug, her crown slightly askew. "I've missed you so much." "Your Majesty," I teased, curtsying dramatically. She swatted my arm. "Oh, stop it. Where's Adrian?" "At home with Skylar. I didn't want him to miss school." "Always the responsible one," she laughed. "Remember when you talked me out of getting that tattoo in Amsterdam?" Someone had to be the voice of reason. Imagine the tabloid headlines: "Future Queen sports butterfly tramp stamp." We walked through the palace corridors, our laughter echoing off marble floors. Despite the opulent surroundings, it felt just like our backpacking days. "So," Lorelai said, leading me to her private study, "tell me about this foundation idea of yours." I pulled out my tablet, showing her the business plan. "It's called Second Course, helping single mothers start their own food-related businesses. Food trucks, catering companies, small restaurants." "Like you did." "Exactly. With proper support and mentoring, they can build something sustainable, something they own." Lorelai studied the proposal. "And you want to announce it at the gala?" "If you think it's appropriate." "It's perfect." She grinned. "Speaking of perfect, how did your family react to the invitation?" I shifted in my chair. "They don't know yet." "Freya." She leaned forward. "You're still letting them treat you like the black sheep?" I told Skylar. She's the only one who knows. My phone buzzed. A text from Skylar. "Your sister just came by the truck asking where you are. Told her you're meeting with investors overseas. She looked suspicious." "See?" I showed Lorelai the message. "They're already sniffing around." "Good." Lorelai's eyes sparkled. "Let them wonder. Now, show me these menu ideas for the gala." We spent hours discussing food and logistics, but eventually the conversation turned personal. "How are you really doing?" Lorelai asked, pouring us tea. "After everything with your family at the party? Honestly, I'm tired of proving myself." Adrian asked me why his grandma doesn't love our food truck. "How do you explain classism to an 8-year-old?" "You don't have to explain their bad behavior. You're about to launch a foundation that will help countless women. That's what matters." A knock at the door interrupted us. The royal chef entered, bowing slightly. "Your Majesty, Lady Freya, the kitchen is ready for the tasting." The palace kitchen was a chef's dream, all gleaming steel and state-of-the-art equipment. As I prepared my signature dishes, I couldn't help but think how far I'd come from my first burned attempts at Korean fusion in my tiny apartment kitchen. "This is incredible," Lorelai declared, sampling the gochujang glazed short ribs. "The gala guests won't know what hit them." My phone buzzed again, this time with a series of texts from my mother. "Freya, where are you really? Yolanda says you're meeting investors?" "Since when do food trucks have investors?" "Call me immediately." "They're getting nervous," Lorelai observed, reading over my shoulder. "Good. Let them stew for a bit." I learned from the best. I smiled, remembering how Lorelai had handled her own family's disapproval of her common university friends. As we finalized the gala details, Lorelai's assistant brought in several newspapers. "Your Majesty, the press release about the gala has gone out." I picked up one of the papers, scanning the headline. Queen Lorelai to host charitable gala supporting women entrepreneurs. No mention of you yet. Lorelai winked. That's for the day of. Maximum impact. Later that evening, in my hotel room, I FaceTimed Adrian. Mom, you won't believe what happened. Aunt Yolanda came to school to pick up Ava, and she saw me. She asked tons of questions about where you were. What did you tell her? Just that you were working, like you told me to. Skylar says we're going to make them sweat. I laughed. Skylar needs to stop teaching you phrases like that. After saying goodnight, I stood at the window, looking out over the palace gardens. In just 2 weeks, these grounds would be filled with Europe's elite, eating my food, hearing my story. And somewhere in the crowd would be my family, finally seeing me for who I really am. My phone buzzed one last time. Another text from my mother. Freya, there are rumors about you meeting with European business contacts. What aren't you telling us? I smiled and turned off my phone. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. The night of the Royal Charity Gala arrived in a flurry of camera flashes and evening gowns. I stood in the palace kitchen, directing my carefully selected team of local chefs, when Lorelai swept in wearing her crown and a midnight blue gown. Ready to make history? She asked, sampling a Korean street food-inspired canapé. Ready to make them eat their words, I replied, adjusting my chef's coat. Literally. The palace ballroom buzzed with aristocrats, diplomats, and business leaders. My stations were set up strategically around the room, each showcasing a different fusion creation. As I moved between them, I overheard snippets of conversation. This food is extraordinary. Who is the chef? I heard she's American. A photographer approached, his camera aimed at me and Lorelai as she sampled dishes at my main station. Your Majesty, he called out. Could we get a photo of you with Chef Freya? Lorelai wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Of course. Make sure you get her good side. Though they're all good sides, really. The flash went off just as we both laughed, capturing a moment of genuine friendship rather than formal poses. I knew this photo would make waves back home. Ladies and gentlemen, the royal announcer's voice boomed through the ballroom. Her Majesty Queen Lorelai would like to make an announcement. Lorelai took the stage, her presence commanding immediate attention. Tonight, we're here to support women entrepreneurs, particularly single mothers building businesses from scratch. I'm proud to announce the launch of the Second Course Foundation, created by my dear friend, Chef Freya. The spotlight found me, and hundreds of eyes turned in my direction. I walked to the stage, my heart pounding but my steps steady. Thank you, Your Majesty, I said into the microphone. 8 years ago, I was a corporate lawyer who'd never cooked anything more complicated than instant ramen. Today, I run a successful food truck business and am about to publish my first cookbook. The crowd applauded politely, but I wasn't finished. But this isn't about me. This is about every woman who's been told her dreams are too small, too unconventional, or too risky. The Second Course Foundation will provide grants, mentorship, and support to single mothers starting food-based businesses. As I described the foundation's plans, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I checked it during a brief break between courses, 17 missed calls from my family, and 1 text from Skylar. Your sister just saw your photo with the Queen on social media. She's losing it. Your mom's trying to book flights to Eldora right now. I showed the message to Lorelai, who burst out laughing. Perfect timing. The international press release goes out tomorrow morning. The evening continued like a dream. I moved through the crowd, accepting compliments and business cards from potential donors. A duchess requested my catering services for her daughter's wedding. 2 Michelin-starred chefs asked about collaboration opportunities. Then my phone rang again. Yolanda. I should take this, I told Lorelai. Time to face the music. I stepped into a quiet corridor. Hello, Yolanda. Freya? Her voice was shrill. Is it true? Are you really at a royal palace right now? Yes, I am. But how? When? Why didn't you tell us? You never asked about my life, Yolanda. You were too busy looking down on it. That's not fair. We were just concerned. No, I cut her off. You were embarrassed. There's a difference. A member of the palace staff approached, bowing slightly. Chef Freya, Her Majesty requests your presence. The dessert course is about to be served. I have to go, I told Yolanda. My food truck's signature dessert is about to be served to 300 of Europe's most influential people. I hung up before she could respond and returned to the ballroom, where my hot dog-inspired desserts were being plated. The same desserts my mother had dismissed as street food were now being photographed by food critics and social media influencers. They're calling you the Queen of Fusion on Twitter, Lorelai whispered, showing me her phone. And look, someone leaked your connection to the royal family to a major news outlet. It's going viral. I watched as notifications flooded my phone. Email requests for interviews, social media followers skyrocketing, and more messages from my family. Mom's booked a flight, I told Lorelai. She'll be here tomorrow. Perfect. Lorelai smiled. Just in time for the press conference announcing your appointment as the royal chef consultant and head of the Second Course Foundation. As the gala wound down, I stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the twinkling lights of the capital city. Tomorrow, my family would arrive, expecting to sweep in and claim some credit for my success. But they'd find a very different Freya waiting for them, one who no longer needed their approval. My phone buzzed one final time, a text from Adrian. Did you show them yet, Mom? Did you make them eat their words? I smiled and typed back, Not yet, buddy, but tomorrow's menu includes a big serving of humble pie. The palace staff informed me of my family's arrival with barely concealed amusement. They're quite insistent, Chef Freya, said Marcus, the head butler. Your mother has mentioned her corporate board position 4 times in the last 10 minutes. Let them wait in the blue drawing room, Lorelai said, adjusting her crown. A little anticipation is good for the soul. I smoothed my chef's coat and checked my phone. The morning news was already buzzing with headlines about the mysterious American chef who had the Queen's ear. My cookbook pre-orders had skyrocketed overnight. Ready? Lorelai asked. As I'll ever be. We entered the drawing room together. My mother, father, and Yolanda shot to their feet, their faces a mix of shock and desperate eagerness. Ava, who must have skipped school for this, sat sulking in a corner. Your Majesty, my mother gushed, attempting a wobbly curtsy. We're so honored. Scarlett, Lorelai cut in coolly. I've heard so much about you over the years, though I must say, your daughter's stories paint quite a different picture than the one you're presenting now. My mother's smile faltered. Yolanda stepped forward. Freya, why didn't you tell us about any of this? Would it have mattered? I asked. Would you have suddenly respected my food truck if you knew I had royal connections? Of course it would have mattered, my father exclaimed. We could have what, Dad? Used my friendship for networking? Added it to the family newsletter? Ava's phone chimed. She glanced at it and gasped. Oh my God, Mom. Freya's trending on Twitter. All my friends are asking if we can get them reservations at her food truck. Speaking of the food truck, Lorelai interjected, Freya's business model is being featured in several international entrepreneurship journals. The rolling fork is being hailed as a masterclass in modern culinary innovation. My mother sank into a chair. All this time, you thought I was a failure, I finished for her, because success only counted if it looked like your version of it. A palace aide appeared at the door. Your Majesty, Chef Freya, the press is ready for the announcement. Announcement? My father asked. Yes, Lorelai smiled. Freya is being named Royal Chef Consultant and will head our new foundation supporting single mother entrepreneurs. We're expecting coverage from major networks worldwide. Yolanda stepped toward me. Freya, we were wrong. So wrong. Yes, you were. I checked my watch. The press conference starts in 20 minutes. You're welcome to attend. In the general audience section. General audience? My mother sputtered. But we're family. Family who needed a royal title to respect me. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mom? Those street food experiments you dismissed at Ava's party? They just got a write-up in Food and Wine magazine. The press conference was a blur of cameras and questions. I announced the Foundation's first initiative, a grant program for single mothers starting food-based businesses, with the rolling fork as the pilot success story. From the audience, I could see my family's faces. My mother was frantically typing on her phone, probably trying to figure out how to spin this to her corporate contacts. Yolanda looked genuinely remorseful. Ava was live streaming everything on her phone, completely transformed from embarrassed niece to proud social media boaster. After the conference, my phone exploded with notifications. Skylar sent a video of Adrian watching the live stream at school, beaming with pride. My old law firm sent a congratulatory email with a not-so-subtle hint about catering their corporate events. "Your family is requesting a private audience," Marcus informed me. "Tell them I'm busy preparing for tomorrow's royal luncheon," I replied. "They can reach out through my new publicity team if they'd like to schedule something." "Very good, chef." Lorelai found me in the kitchen later, testing recipes for the luncheon. "Your mother cornered my secretary trying to get your new contact information." I laughed. "Let me guess, she mentioned her corporate board position?" 5 times. Lorelai sampled my latest creation. "This is divine, by the way. So, what's your next move?" "I'm thinking of franchising the Rolling Fork. Help other single moms start their own trucks. Show them they can build something meaningful on their own terms." "And your family?" I thought about Adrian, about the example I wanted to set for him. "They'll have to earn their way back in. Not through connections or status, but through genuine understanding and respect." My phone buzzed with another text from Ava. "Aunt Freya, I'm sorry I was mean about the food truck. Can I maybe work there sometimes after school? My friends think it's really cool now." "Now," I repeated, showing Lorelai the message. Amazing how a royal connection changes everything. "No," Lorelai corrected. "Amazing how you changed everything, all by yourself. The crown just helped them finally see it. Back home, the Rolling Fork had a line wrapped around the block." Skylar was managing the crowd with practiced ease, while Adrian helped take orders on our new tablet system. "Mom," Adrian ran to hug me as I stepped out of the taxi. "We're famous. Even Mr. Peterson from the bank came by." "The same Mr. Peterson who denied our expansion loan last year?" I raised an eyebrow at Skylar. "Yep," she grinned. "He wanted to discuss exciting financing opportunities for the foundation." I told him to join the queue, both for the food and the meeting. Inside the truck, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Interview requests, catering inquiries, and endless messages from my family. My mother had left 15 voicemails since I'd left Eldora. "You should hear them," Skylar said, prepping vegetables. "Your mom's gone from demanding to begging, even offered to feature you in her Women in Leadership conference. For a price, I'm sure." The bell on our order window chimed. I turned to find Yolanda standing there, looking unusually uncertain. "Freya, can we talk?" I glanced at the line. "I'm working, Yolanda. You can schedule an appointment with my assistant." "Please?" 5 minutes. As your sister, not as Dr. Yolanda from Metropolitan Hospital. Skylar nudged me. "Go, I've got this." I led Yolanda to the small park across the street, where Adrian often did his homework. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she started, "about how we treated you, how I treated you. I was so caught up in proving myself in a male-dominated field that I started measuring everyone by the same narrow standards, including your own daughter," I pointed out. "I see how much pressure you put on Ava." Yolanda winced. "She asked to work in your food truck, said it's the first thing she's been excited about in years." The answer is no. "What?" "Not until she understands that it's not about the royal connection or the sudden social media fame. This is hard work, Yolanda. Real work." My phone buzzed. A text from Lorelai. "First round of foundation grants approved. 20 single mothers getting their start. You're changing lives, chef." I showed Yolanda the message. This is what matters. Not the glamour or the headlines, but giving others the chance I had to build something meaningful. "I get that now." Yolanda's eyes were wet. "Mom's a mess, by the way. Her corporate friends keep asking about her celebrity chef daughter, and she doesn't know what to say. She could try telling the truth, that she never believed in me." A commotion near the truck caught our attention. My father had arrived, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my first month's food truck earnings. Freya, he called out. Princess Beatrice's office called the house about catering her garden party. I took the liberty of accepting on your behalf. I walked back to the truck, my father trailing behind me. You did what? It's a fantastic opportunity. I've already started drafting a business plan for expansion. Multiple trucks, branded merchandise, maybe even a television deal. Dad, stop. I turned to face him. You don't get to swoop in and take over just because my business finally fits your definition of success. But I'm trying to help. No, you're trying to control, just like always. Skylar appeared at my side. Chef, the reporter from Food Network is here for your interview. Thanks, Skylar. I turned back to my father. I have work to do. Real work, not networking or plotting empire expansions. If you want to help, get in line and order some food like everyone else. Inside the truck, I found Adrian showing a customer photos from the Royal Gala on his tablet. That's my mom with the Queen, he said proudly. They're best friends from college. Adrian, I called softly. What did we say about bragging? He looked down. That we don't need to prove anything to anyone. Exactly. The afternoon brought more surprise visitors. Business school professors wanting to do case studies, food critics, and even my old law firm partners. Each one had an angle, a proposal, a way to capitalize on my sudden prominence. They're like vultures, Skylar observed, watching another suited executive leave with their takeout order. They'll move on to the next big thing soon enough, I said. But we'll still be here, doing what we love. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from Ava. Aunt Freya, I know you said no to the job, but can I at least learn how to cook? The real way, starting from the bottom? I smiled and typed back. Come by tomorrow at 6 a.m. Bring an apron and comfortable shoes. No phones allowed in the kitchen. Skylar read the message over my shoulder. Going soft on them already? No, I replied, watching my father's expensive car finally pull away from the curb. Just giving them a chance to earn their way back. The same chance I'm giving other women through the foundation. One small step at a time. And your mom? I glanced at the growing stack of business cards and interview requests. She can wait. I've got more important things to focus on right now. The Second Course Foundation launch event transformed the city's largest event space into a celebration of food and resilience. 20 food trucks, each operated by our first round of grant recipients, lined the perimeter. The air filled with a symphony of sizzling grills and aromatic spices. This is really happening, Skylar whispered, adjusting the name tag on her event coordinator badge. I squeezed her hand. We did it. Look at them all. Each truck told a story. Maria's Venezuelan arepas, Sarah's soul food fusion, Jasmine's modern Mediterranean. Women who, just months ago, thought their dreams were out of reach. Mom, Adrian called out, running up in his junior chef uniform. The news vans are here, and I saw Grandma and Grandpa in the parking lot. My stomach tightened. Are you ready to help me with the speech? Born ready. He grinned, pulling out the note cards we'd practiced together. The event space filled quickly. Food critics mingled with local politicians, while Lorelei's foundation representatives chatted with potential donors. I spotted my family trying to navigate through the crowd. My mother in her signature power suit, my father filming everything on his phone. 5 minutes till the speech, Skylar reminded me. I took the stage, Adrian standing proudly beside me. The crowd hushed as I approached the microphone. A year ago, I was serving tacos from my food truck while my family wished I'd returned to corporate law. A knowing chuckle rippled through the audience. Today, I'm here to introduce you to 20 incredible women who refuse to let anyone define their worth. I gestured to the food truck owners who stepped forward one by one. Maria left an abusive relationship with nothing but her grandmother's recipes and a dream. Sarah was told her fusion ideas were too radical. Jasmine worked 3 jobs to support her kids while planning her business. In the crowd, I saw my mother dab at her eyes. The second course foundation isn't just about food trucks or restaurants, it's about believing in yourself when no one else will. It's about teaching our children that success comes in many flavors. Adrian handed me the next note card, beaming. Today, we're announcing our expansion. Next year, we'll support 50 more women. We're opening a culinary training center, offering business mentorship, and creating a support network that will. Freya. My mother's voice cut through the silence. She stood up, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The crowd turned to stare. My father tried to pull her back into her seat, but she shrugged him off. I was wrong, she continued. I was so focused on my version of success that I couldn't see yours. Please forgive me. The microphone squealed as I gripped it tighter. Mom, this isn't the time. Yes, it is. She walked toward the stage. I want everyone here to know that I failed you. That while I was bragging about my corporate achievements, my daughter was building something extraordinary. Something meaningful. Security started moving toward her, but I held up my hand to stop them. You know what the worst part is? She went on. I never even tried your food until today. I just ate from Sarah's truck, the Soul Food Fusion. It was the best meal I've had in years. Sarah, standing with the other grant recipients, gave a surprised wave. I looked at Adrian, who nodded encouragingly. Mom, would you like to come up here? She climbed the stairs, mascara streaking her cheeks. Without hesitation, she hugged me tight. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. So incredibly proud. The crowd erupted in applause. Skylar was openly crying, and even some of the food critics looked misty-eyed. Ladies and gentlemen, I said into the microphone, one arm still around my mother. This is what second course is about. Second chances, new beginnings, the courage to admit when we're wrong, and the strength to start again. The rest of the event was a blur of interviews, taste testing, and watching Adrian teach my mother how to properly fold a Korean dumpling at our demonstration station. Your mom's actually pretty good at this, Skylar observed, watching them work together. She always was good at everything she tried, I said. She just never tried anything that wasn't part of her plan. Yolanda approached with Ava, both wearing rolling fork aprons. Ava's been practicing at home. She made dinner for us last night. Didn't even look at her phone once while cooking. Really? I turned to my niece. What did you make? Your kimchi fried rice recipe, Ava replied proudly. Dad said it was better than the country club's fusion menu. As the evening wound down, I watched my mother talking animatedly with Maria about business strategies, while my father sampled dishes from every truck, making notes in his phone. They're really trying, Adrian said, sliding his hand into mine. Yes, they are. I hugged him close. And you know what? Sometimes the best revenge isn't making people eat their words, it's watching them learn to savor new flavors. The setting sun painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, casting a warm glow over our gathering of food trucks and second chances. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, we celebrated not just success, but transformation. One plate at a time. The morning sun streamed through the Rolling Forks window as I prepped for our special Sunday brunch service. Adrian and my mother worked side by side, their matching aprons dusted with flour as they rolled out dough for hot talk. Like this, Grandma? Adrian demonstrated the perfect fold. You're a natural teacher, she said, mimicking his technique. Just like your mom. The bell chimed as Skylar arrived with coffee and our newest trainee, Ava, right on time for her 6th consecutive weekend shift. Morning, Chef, Ava called out, already tying her apron. I practiced that sauce you taught me all week. Show me, I said, stepping aside to give her access to the prep station. As Ava worked, I watched my mother observe her granddaughter with new eyes. Gone was the pressure to be perfect, replaced by genuine pride in Ava's growing skills. Freya, my mother said softly. The Women's Business Association called again. They want you to be their keynote speaker. What did you tell them? That you're busy running a successful business and changing lives, but... She smiled. I did mention our mother-daughter cooking class initiative. The cooking classes had been her idea, a way to rebuild our relationship while helping other mothers connect with their children through food. It was working better than therapy. My phone buzzed with a text from Lorelai. Turn on the news now. Skylar already had it pulled up on her tablet. A major business magazine had named Second Course one of the most influential social enterprises of the year. The camera panned across our kitchen training center, showing Maria teaching a group of new recipients while Sarah handled the business mentorship session. That's my aunt, Ava announced to a customer at the window, pointing at me on the screen. She taught me everything I know about fusion cuisine. Everything? I raised an eyebrow. Well, I'm still learning, she admitted. But I'm going to run my own truck someday. The morning rush began, but it was different now. My father stopped by with potential investors, not to pressure me, but to show them how a successful small business operates. Yolanda brought her hospital colleagues, proudly explaining each menu item as if she'd created them herself. Your sister's become quite the food enthusiast, Skylar remarked, watching Yolanda describe the fermentation process of kimchi to a fascinated group of doctors. People change, I said, plating an order. Sometimes they just need the right motivation. The lunch hour brought a surprise visitor, Mr. Peterson from the bank, this time without his suit jacket, sleeves rolled up. Chef Freya, he said, looking appropriately sheepish. I was hoping to volunteer for the Foundation's mentorship program. Banking expertise, if you're interested. I shared a knowing look with Skylar. The application form is on our website, just like everyone else. Adrian tugged my sleeve. Mom, can we show Grandma the new recipe we've been working on? Sure, buddy. I turned to my mother. Ready to learn something new? She tied her apron tighter. Lead the way, Chef. As we worked, I thought about how much had changed. Not just the external success, the magazine covers, the Foundation's growth, the celebrity clients. The real change was here, in these small moments of connection. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the truck's window when my father returned, this time with a familiar face, my old managing partner from the law firm. Freya, Richard said, I owe you an apology. We should have supported your vision back then. But maybe we can help now. Pro bono legal services for your Foundation recipients? Email Skylar, I replied. She handles partnership proposals. That's my daughter. My father beamed, always keeping it professional. As the day wound down, my family lingered, not to criticize or question, but to help clean up, to learn closing procedures, to simply be present. You know, my mother said, washing dishes beside me, I spent years trying to teach you about success, but you're the one who taught me what it really means. Outside, Adrian was showing Ava how to properly close down a food truck for the night. My sister watched them, no longer pushing for medical school applications or perfect grades. Next week, Yolanda said, Ava wants to start a food blog about young chefs learning the trade. Is that okay? More than okay. I smiled. It's perfect. The evening air filled with the lingering aromas of our day's work as we gathered for our new tradition. Family dinner in the park across from the truck. Simple food, shared stories, and genuine laughter. Mom, Adrian whispered as we sat together. Are you still mad at them? About before? I looked at my family. My mother teaching Ava knife skills. My father discussing business plans with Skylar. Yolanda photographing her food with the same precision she once reserved for surgical procedures. No, honey, I replied. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people surprise you. And sometimes the biggest success isn't proving people wrong. It's watching them learn to be right. The stars began to appear above us, and somewhere in a small European nation, I knew Lorelai was smiling, knowing her friend had found something even better than revenge. Redemption, served one plate at a time.